All right, I will officially call the Akron Rotary meeting to order. We'll now start with our invocation. Karen Herdlicka is going to offer some words for us.
Morning, everyone. Jack has, as always, inspires me about learning about history. So I think invocations are always a good time to do that. So I'm going to read, when you hear the phrase service above self, what does it mean to you? Maybe helping others, selflessness, doing your part in the community. If you or someone close to you is a Rotarian, then it is a motto you are very familiar with. Service above self was a motto that came out of a conversation between two Rotarians during the 1911 National Rotary Conference in Portland, Oregon. With a slight modification, it was officially adopted by Rotary in 1950 at the Rotary International Convention in Detroit, Michigan, and it has brought together people from all ends of the earth in creating a better world each day ever since. So here is a little invocation about service. Service happens in laughter and friendship. Service happens in quiet conviction. Service happens with firm intention. Service happens in growing kinship to all humanity in attention to service above self. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Karen. And now if you can please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, Cheryl, if you could put the four-way test up of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So welcome, everybody. Connor Jarvis is serving as our greeter today. Connor.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Rob, and thank you, Cheryl, for making that job a little bit easier. So it sounds like we have two guests on with us today, Christine Mayer and Rob Lair. So you guys want to take a moment to introduce yourselves. Thanks for joining us here today. And anyone else, if I'm missing anyone, please let me know that as well, too, so we can welcome them.
Sure, thank you. I'll jump in. This is Christine Mayer. Nice to see you all. I work at GAR Foundation in Akron, and I worked on a lot of stuff with Howard Parr. So I heard that he was the speaker today and wanted to join to support him. I did not realize that I would have to introduce myself, so I have no prepared remarks of any sort. But it is really nice to be with you all. And I look forward to hearing from Howard and seeing what your group is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Christine. And yes, of course, Howard, it goes without saying, our esteemed speaker is a welcome guest as well, too. I know you'll have a moment, but thanks for being here as well, Howard. Go ahead, Rob. Thanks, Christine.
Hi, everyone. I also work at GAR Foundation with Christine. I'm a program officer there, and I've had the pleasure of working with Howard for many years, even before I was with GAR. So I'm just looking forward to hearing more from him today, and thanks for inviting us and letting us join you. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you guys. Thank you. Anyone else that we're guests-wise or other, or that I don't see? And you guys can let me know in the chat or raise your hands, but I don't see anyone else just from my cursory look through here, guys. So Dr. Rob, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Connor.
Absolutely.
Before we digress into one of my icebreakers, I'd like to know if there are any Rotary Ambassadors, anybody who has met with other Rotarians or attended other club meetings. Cheryl Warren, surprisingly, you were here at Ambassador. Tell us about it.
Well, on Saturday, we had our district leadership assembly, and Rob, you were there, and John Daly was there. So you guys may want to touch on the presentations that you attended.
John Daly, do you have a comment about any of the presentations or your breakout sessions? And you're muted, John.
No comment.
There you go.
No comment.
Just got. Go ahead, John.
No comment.
Okay. I was able to attend one of the early meetings that was really looking at creative membership growth and what some other clubs have done. So I'll bring some ideas back to Tom Knauer and his team. The club that really showed off the most actually waived some fees for lunch, which could easily get our budget upside down again when we're meeting in person. But boy, won't it be good to get together and have lunch sometime in the near future.
Well,
Any
and
other-
I'll
Go
add
ahead.
something because John, I'm surprised because you were in my session so that I presented in. So I'm not sure if that's good or bad that you have no comment, but I had the opportunity to present with DG and David Jones on hybrid meetings. So we're looking at ways that we can bring back live and virtual combination meetings.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. And I got your handout yesterday, even though I wasn't able to get into your oversubscribed workshop, but that's great. So we'll get to work on that pretty soon. At our next board meetings, we'll have some pretty good discussions. So now I'd like to just, Julie.
I know you will all be very jealous, but as your incoming DGND, I've been sitting through weekly meetings on MOP, which is Manual of Procedures. I know you're all very jealous about that. So, but I'm glad that's almost over. But that's all the meetings I've been attending at the district level right now, because the finance board membership and all those other ones haven't been this week. So I'll talk more about that next week.
Is Steve Bowie on? He attended a meeting last evening. I thought I saw him in the chat. So one of the things for the club to be aware of how important it is that we have 3 legs to our stool with our Rotary Foundation, our Rotary Camp, and our Rotary Club. This year during the pandemic, the club presidents have been meeting on a regular basis just to keep each other informed and, establish relationships so that we can enhance trust. And yesterday we were so bold as to go to the camp and stay socially distanced in the pavilion and enjoyed the treat that Dan Reynolds and the team actually served us salad and wine. It was very classy outdoors at Portage Lake. So that was a nice semblance of normalcy starting back. So thank you. All right, well, there's two themes that if you get called on today, you can opt for either one of them. As you'll see later on when I do my happy dollars, I had a momentous occasion last weekend. And one of the things that was very interesting is as the bridal party was wheeled across in a van in the field in Vermont to hide behind a door so there would be an official unveiling, the van got stuck in the mud. So we had to pivot, and we had cars come out to take 3 bridesmaids at a time to hide behind, and then finally the bride and her dad. So that, again, that could be a moment to panic, or it could be a moment to say, we'll always have an anchor. Every time we see a rut in the mud, we will remember that that was almost us, and the wedding was only 15 minutes delayed. So it was really not a big deal. So I would like you to reflect on moments that didn't go the way you planned, and hopefully share that memory anchor that you have. Or selfishly, I tried to get a house at the Jersey Shore for my family after the wedding was over, so that we would have a summer break, and they were all booked. I could not get a home at the Jersey Shore. So if anybody wants to offer up some interesting alternative getaways that they are privy to, we can always throw that in there as an option. So you've got 2 options. And I see Laura smiling. So Laura, what are you going to opt in for?
I guess I'll go with the when you decide to do something and it doesn't go as planned concept. So I know I've shared before that I'm a long distance backpacker. I actually walked from Georgia to Maine on the Appalachian Trail. And the first time that I went out in 2003, I blew my knee out while I was hiking and ended up in a hospital in a tiny little town, and then had to come home and have surgery and then get back out there. I guess though, in that moment, when you think that it's done and I really thought my trip was over, you know, it hits you hard how much you've put into a project, I guess. So the ability to get back out and finish that, even if it was modified a little bit, really meant twice as much. So I hope that was kind of the theme that you were going with, Dr. Rob.
Absolutely. You took your lemon and made lemonade, right?
You know what? You got to do what you can do when you can do it with where you're at.
Oh, that's a great one. Okay, June Ring, I haven't talked to you for a while. Hi, June. Do you have something you would be willing to share on the spot? And don't
Hi
worry,
there.
visitors. I don't call on visitors. So if you have something you want to say, I'm looking at two very attentive faces right now, and it's okay, really. June.
Yeah. So I guess mine's a wedding story as well. So our son got married November 28th of last year, which turned out to be possibly the worst weekend of 2020 to have a wedding. So it ended up being extremely small. We went from plan A to plan B to plan C. All of my side of our family is from Pennsylvania, and COVID rules at that point in time were do not come from Pennsylvania. Don't leave Pennsylvania. You'd have to go back and quarantine for 2 weeks. One family actually had COVID. So nobody from that side of the family was able to attend, but the silver lining is Memorial Day weekend, we're having a big outdoor bash in the Pittsburgh area for all of those folks. And so we'll just get to celebrate twice with the bride and groom.
Oh, that's a great story. What a good pivot. Let me see if I have some other folks here that are unassuming. Tom Knauer. How are you, Tom?
Dr. Rob, I'll stick with that same theme. Many years ago, my wife and I were in Europe, traveling without much knowledge of Europe, and we were in Italy and found ourselves in a town far away from where we had planned to stay, and we had to catch a train ride speaking no Italian, and had got on the train with a incorrect ticket. And then when the guy came around the train to check the ticket and discovered that while the train was en route, we had the incorrect ticket, and we pretended to be very naive, very innocent, and very apologetic. And there was no room in the car, so we had to stand in between the cars the entire trip, but he let us stay on the train, which was very, very nice.
How long was your trip?
It was a couple hours, so it wasn't too bad. But he was not very happy with us, but he was sympathetic, and we played along.
So we don't play poker with Tom, okay? All right, let's get into that. Christina Horak, nice to see you. Do you have a story you're willing to share?
I had to take a call. I missed what the prompt is. Can you share that?
Okay, so
Sorry.
there's two options. One is when the plans don't go as you expected, are you able to flip that into a positive memory anchor or another outcome? Or do you have another getaway since McGregor couldn't book the family house at the shore because they're already booked? I'm looking for alternative getaways to put my family together at the end of August.
I don't have any suggestions for travel. Everything's booked out that I've looked at as well. And as far as pivoting, I think that's pretty much every day in my career, being in speech therapy. Things often don't go as planned, and so you completely have to change them around. So I don't have anything too exciting in that regard.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. It's good to see you. Okay, let's say, Julie Brandel, why don't you bring us home? I think things always go as you plan.
I was going to save this for Happy Dollars, but kind of didn't go as planned, but I'm very, very happy about it. So if you've not been watching Kimberly's Facebook, because I'm sure it's very exciting for you, but she is, she graduated a couple weeks ago on a Saturday, and 4 days later, she got offered her job, her full-time job. And it's 3 hours away from home. And we're all very excited for her, but it's going to take some getting used to. So luckily she has a job, but it's just not here. So she will not be able to be an Akron Rotarian, but we'll wish her all the excitement and congratulations for that. So.
Well, if we go hybrid, don't rule it out yet.
True, very true.
If we start family memberships and go hybrid, we'll be getting her covered.
Well,
Right.
and Julie, there's always the E-Club.
Yes, that's true.
Always
That's
the
true.
E-Club.
There was always that. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work on Cheryl's conflict of interest, because if we go hybrid and she's siphoning off all her members to her husband's E-Club, well,
No.
I guess it's beneficial to all concerned if it builds.
Those are just for
Big
people who
project.
can't attend or don't want to be virtual here.
All right, well, thanks very much for indulging me in our icebreaker. Announcements, we already heard about the leadership conference, and Cheryl Warren was front and center as always, orchestrating a wonderful conference. For those of you who didn't take that opportunity, I really encourage you to look for those opportunities next year. The board retreat will be coming up, and that's going to be held on the 4th of June. And it's going to be held at the United Way. There'll be more information if it hasn't already come out to board members from Steve Bowie and Connor Jarvis. I think exiting board members as well as entering board members are eligible to participate.
Great.
And thank you to all the Rotarians who helped clean up the camp. When I was out there yesterday, it looks like it's getting really in pretty good shape. So thank you for that service. Wanted to let you know that as the president of the outgoing president of the Rotary, every year I'm giving $1,000 to sponsor a program or a project, and the hooker is that I have to get it through a not-for-profit. And we had an opportunity from our diversity and inclusivity team to do something in Middlebury with some minority-owned properties that were cleaned up, but the area around the homes are really in disrepair and need some landscaping. So with our Rotary connections, I think Jack Herrig was able to connect us with a wholesale outdoor landscape operation, and there'll be an ask for some sweat equity of our Rotarians to help put this project together. And as my presidential fund, I've been given $1,000 to that'll come through the Akron Rotary or the Akron Foundation. We're still working out those details. So stay tuned, and you'll hear more from Gina K. Maddox or Cindy Kane or Christina Horak. So the board of our Rotary Club did approve me to draft a letter to support the Veterans Trail. You may remember a few weeks ago, we had Bill Seepy from Task Force tell us that story. Other Rotary clubs along that way included Hudson and Stowe, and I know Hudson also participated to write a letter to in support so that we can move this unused old rail to something that can be really part of more of a hike and bike. So your team helped me do that. And now I want to know who's happy. There you are, Katie Miller.
Always happy. I have 5 happy dollars. We got to spend 6 uninterrupted hours with our grandson Robbie this past weekend for a day of babysitting, and it was probably one of the best things that ever happened after he quit giving us the stink eye because he didn't know who we were because we weren't in his phone anymore. We were in person. So it was a little readjustment, but it was a fabulous, fabulous time for all of us. And I get to spend, and I just got tapped for more help this week. My son-in-law had back surgery yesterday and he's fine, but he can't pick the baby up for 2 weeks. So I'm going up to help mom a couple days this week and next week. So life is good.
Nothing like being the designated baby picker-upper. That's the best job in the
Right.
world.
I mean, I don't get jobs like that very often, so I'll take that one any day of the week. But it was really great, and he settled in really well, and we got to bring Tim's mom over to see him too. So it was just a good day.
So Katie, what's your name? What does he call you?
I'm Grandma Katie, and Tim is Grandpa Tim, and because our granddaughter Ella has about 8 sets of grandparents because of mixed divorces. To Ella, I'm Grandma Katie, and Tim is just Tim, and she calls him just Tim. So
I bet the other grandkids are going to pick up on that too.
probably, and they can call us whatever they want.
Anybody else happy? Dave Hall is happy.
I got $5 happy. My youngest came home from Florida last week, and in the middle of that gas shortage, she made her way from St. Augustine, Florida, back home with no problems finding gas. And along with that $5, Dr. Rob, nobody gave you any vacation destinations. I will highly suggest St. Augustine, Florida, as it is a beautiful place in Florida, and one of the first cities settled by the Spanish in 1565. There are a ton of things to do down there with the Fountain of Youth, the old fort, lighthouse, all sorts of things, all sorts of shopping and great restaurants. So that's my plug for a vacation spot.
Well, thank you, David. And Fountain of Youth, that sounds like a pretty good deal.
$30. I went in and drank a gallon, so I'm going to live forever.
All right. Anybody else happy? Cheryl Warren is happy.
Yep, I'll give $10 happy today. I'm going to give 5 for my nephew, Seth, who graduated summa cum laude. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
From Dayton. He is now going to proceed. He's going to dental school with honors. He has been selected to a dental school, and yay, maybe we'll get a dental discount in the future. And then my other $5 happy are, I always offer Akron Club first. I'm not trying to push people to eat. It's just if you're out of state and can't do it. But I'm really happy that they actually, our club is doing well, and I'm just really happy to be here. And thanks for having me.
Excellent. No, I know you always have to be fair to all concerned. As we talked about hybrids, we just have to think a little differently. Connor Jarvis has his hand up.
Yeah, I'll do $5 happy in the theme of vacation. So my family will be able to do our second family vacation with Emerson, our daughter, with both sets of grandparents and her aunts in June. She's turning 2 in July, so we're glad to be able to do that. And we were able to go last year for the first year, just even in the midst of the pandemic, safely so. But Dr. Rob, a plug for vacation. If you're looking for spots and you kind of like the New Jersey beaches, mid-Atlantic beach feel. My family's always gone to Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. You can actually see Cape May, New Jersey from there. And that's just where we've always gone. This year, we're not going there. We're going to my in-laws' beach. They went to ours last year. We're going theirs, kind of back and forth. But Rehoboth, you've got a boardwalk, so much to do for kids and little ones, great restaurants, shops, completely walkable. You'd never have to get in your car the entire week if you didn't want to. So that's my plug for Rehoboth if you want to stay closer to the New Jersey area and that kind of a vibe. But I'm sure St. Augustine is great too, Dave. So.
What a diplomat. Anybody else? I think that just leaves me. I have $25 happy, 5 because my grandson's parents had their 5th wedding anniversary this weekend. And I also got to be a designated holder when there was another 24-hour shift that my daughter was on call for OB, and they needed a little extra help. So that was another alternative. And then I want to share a picture. You all knew I was happy last week, but that's the happy couple and Rob taking Abby down the aisle. So I can understand now. I didn't understand why they were dragging me the whole way to Vermont. But then when I saw those mountains, even though they weren't all green yet, it made a pretty spectacular backdrop. And the next slide there, Cheryl. And there's my little CJ in the green shirt. And again, the silver lining when you think about a wedding, this is supposed to be last Memorial Day. We had to postpone it. Everybody was really pretty upset about it. We put it off a year, and these two little children wouldn't have been in the wedding because the little girl in the pink is Riley. That's the groom's family's first grandchild. And she's 9 months old, and there's little CJ enjoying the fern. I think he was eating the fern at the time, but he sat up before he was 6 months old and rode a wagon. So my son-in-law said now that he's a really good sitter because that's what wagon trains do for you. So that's good. A new twist on the word wagon train. Okay, now, Howard, I hope you're still awake with us and you're hanging in there. But without further delay, it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Akron Civic Center for the last 14 years. His bio is phenomenal. What a creative person who's done everything from event production, program management, directing $22.5 million into expansion and restoration of our beautiful Civic right here in Akron. And I heard rumor that you're bringing in a production in your prior work as production managers in other areas. You cover everything from jazz to ballet, so you're really well versed in the arts. And you're bringing the Dead Can Dance in the fall, which some groupies here at the hospital that were telling me about Dead Can Dance. So I don't know anything about it, but I might have to get a ticket. Howard, take it away.
That actually makes two of us. I didn't know anything about it either until the opportunity to have it presented came up, and I looked on their numbers and how they do, and all of a sudden I learned. So that's one of the dirty little secrets of the Civic Theater is that we don't always know everything that's going on here. Something comes up, and then we do a little research, and the research tells us what we need to know. So that show's going to do great. People are really happy about it, and I think probably the best news about that show is that it's the first brand new show that we announced post-pandemic that didn't have to be rescheduled. So that was huge for us. And the fact that when we put it on sale, a good number of people wanted to buy the tickets helped us have a lot of confidence in that the market's going to return. So that was a big deal. So I want to just say this is I've spoken to Rotaries and Lions and other groups, and I've never done it. I've never done one not in person. It's definitely a different experience, and I'm really glad to have the chance to do this with you guys and see all the friendly faces of people that I haven't seen in a year or over a year now, and I can see somebody on the screen, and I'm glad to see that. I wasn't necessarily expecting. I think I knew Julie was going to be on as a board member. I wasn't expecting Christine and Rob. So now I've got board members and funders watching, which means that I can't make anything up. That's going to restrict my creativity in this presentation, but I'm going to do the best I can to try to stay on track. But it is good to be here, and I'm going to ask you guys to please interrupt me and ask questions as I go. Certainly, there's time at the end. I'll stay as long as you guys want to, but there's a lot going on right now, and I'm sure that there are questions. I can tell you that when this thing happened, it was like it turned off like a light switch. We had Michael Stanley in the building on Saturday night. It was his last concert ever. And we did a contemporary Christian show on Sunday, and then it was over. I think the Tuesday or Wednesday the next week it was over. And so it turned off like a light switch. And it was a very, very stressful and difficult time for us and for a lot of people, obviously. We always predicted, though, that we were the first ones out, and we would be the last ones coming back. And I've said over and over and over again to my staff and to the board and to others, we turned off like a light switch, but we're going to turn on like a dimmer. It's not just going to flip back on. And then all of a sudden, Governor DeWine came out last Thursday and said, guess what? I was just kidding. It's June 2nd, all bets are off. Then the CDC came out the next day and said, "Oh, we were just kidding about masks." And honestly, it's like it made our head spin, because we've been gearing up to get ourselves back on track and have in fact been open, operating at about 25% capacity. We have about 20 shows booked beginning in mid-April, going through the end of June. We have one graduation. Normally we do 10, I think. And we're doing some dance recitals, and we're doing some ballet stuff, and just, you know, things we're able to do at a lower capacity, and we were kind of gearing back up. But our staff, we had, when it all hit, we cut about 70% of our staff, and those folks aren't back yet. So we're beginning to grow back up, and I think we'll be back sort of in full action, regardless of what the restrictions are. We'll be back in full action in August. But between now and then, we'll continue to see more and more activity in the building. But it really is kind of amazing and crazy how we really expected it to kind of come back in a slow, gradual pace, and then all of a sudden, just overnight, this is how we're going to do things. So we're sorting through all that, and I'm sure that many of you in your lives and in your businesses are dealing with similar issues. But with the public, in our case, you know, public gathering is what we do, so it's very much at the core of our work. So I've prepared a little bit of a presentation here, and I'm gonna go into it, and it's a little bit different than I normally do. I'm going to spend a little bit of time initially here talking about our impact and the way we view ourselves. Then I'm going to go right into what we did with the project, because that's really been what has been in the press, and a lot of attention's been paid to. So I'll run through kind of what we actually did here in this phase of our restoration, and then obviously any questions I'll be able to answer. But does anybody have any questions right now about how things are going with our programming or the project before I get started? All righty, then I'm gonna see if I actually do know how to share screen. I think I do. Perfect. So so I said I wanted to start off. I'm going to go right to some economic impact data, because you know, everybody thinks of the Civic Theater in terms of the way it looks and the history of it, and those things are certainly extremely important. But what we're really here to do is have an impact on the community, and our viewpoint of the theater over the years as it's sort of developed is that we don't necessarily view ourselves as an arts or cultural institution as much as we view ourselves as an economic development or community development institution that happens to use arts and culture as the vehicle that we achieve the objectives. So our purpose here is really about community development, community building, economic development. And so prior to the pandemic, we were using the Americans for the Arts and Economic Prosperity Report. We had an economic impact of about 8.1 million a year, attracting about 135,000 in annual attendance. And I would say, you know, just to be clear, that's just the Civic. That doesn't involve Luck Free or any of the other things that we are involved with. The other thing I think that's really significant about this is that this is pre-COVID, pre-Main Street construction, pre-restoration. So we're not just coming out of a fairly major restoration and expansion. We're not just coming out of what seemed like an interminable Main Street construction process. And we're not just coming out of a pandemic. We're literally coming out of all three of these things at once. And really all of downtown is experiencing that. So I think it's important that we sort of understand that we have this opportunity coming out of all this to really redefine who we are. And when I say that, I don't mean just the theater. I mean all of our downtown area, people that are impacted and directly involved in the downtown. So I think that's really, really important. So when I mentioned our impact and our reach, being besides sort of in the entire community, there's some areas here that we have been pretty active in the last 5 or 7 years. And one of those is EJ Thomas, where we provide all box office services. We also are involved in helping them with some booking, certainly hoping that that relationship is going to continue to develop in the years ahead. We've been very, very active in the Akron Civic Commons, which is a investment that was initially made on the Knight Foundation was involved with it. Kresge Foundation was involved with it. I think Rockefeller maybe. And it was really about looking at our public spaces and how we can bring people together in those public spaces. We found that to be very consistent with our philosophy here at the theater. We got very actively involved. After the first 3 years of that program, it has really had a huge impact on downtown and really the whole Akron area. And we're seeing tremendous investment, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, at Lock 3, as well as down at Summit Lake. And the whole concept of the Civic Commons was to connect Summit Lake and what we call the Civic Gateway, which is downtown, along the Ohio and Erie Towpath Trail. So our project was instrumental in the success of the Bowery project, which is immediately to our north. One of our buildings is actually part of the Bowery project now. And this project, if you're not familiar with it, is a mixed-use restaurants, retail, and residential project on the corner of Bowery and Main, extending south on Main to the entry of the theater. The residential component of that project is about 100 units, and they are about 80% occupancy already. So, which is a hugely great sign. The commercial stuff is a little bit behind for obvious reasons, both Main Street construction and the pandemic. So hopefully that's going to come around. But this was a extremely, the synergy between our project and that project were extremely important in terms of our ability to raise the funds that allowed us to do the project that we did. So I think it's critical that we understand and talk about that. And then finally, we've been providing services to Lock 3 since it opened. With the city, we currently do the booking for Lock 3, we provide the technical support for Lock 3, and we provide the accounting and bookkeeping for Lock 3. So we're involved in all of these things. In June, we're still working towards the finalizing and the timing of it, but in June, we'll be announcing our affiliation with another venue in town as well. And so it will continue to grow the concept of taking the Civic and using it as a vehicle to try to develop both economic development and community development goals. Any questions on any of that? I'm going to get into the actual project that we just did, if not. Okay, so we titled our capital campaign Staging the Future. That was very creative. We had some really great help from Randy Godding, who's a member of our board and who owns Knox Marketing in the Valley. And they helped us with developing this concept, and it really, really turned out great. So the project had really 5 significant aspects to it. The very first and the priority for our board right out of the box was the restoration, the completion of the restoration of the Grand Lobby and Entry Arcade. So that was the first. The second was to add a 200 capacity mixed use sort of performance space. The third was to get us some offices that were up to modern standards. We had not had administrative offices and a box office that was very good in terms of conditions and working conditions for a while. Then we wanted to engage in some development of public art, and that was the fourth area. I'll talk about all these things. And then finally, we wanted to increase our endowment so we would have a longer term ability to take care of the building. So those are the 5 components of the project. So the first was to take care of the grand lobby and the entry arcade. For many of you will know that we began this work in 2002. We stopped in the grand lobby. We ran out of money. So it took us the rest of the last 20 years to raise the rest to do this. So I guess it's a 20-year overnight success story. You will remember, if you've been in the theater, this is a good example of it. You can see this is where the original restoration stopped. So you can see the difference between what was not restored. This was painted. It's not just dirty. It was painted in the 70s. It was painted the wrong color. So this is the original color here and here. And this is something that was done in the 70s. And you can see the damage to the plaster work, all of that. So this became this. This is the grand lobby today. You can see this facade here is what was originally done, and you can see how the rest of it was blended. I'm gonna just, if I can, yeah, I'm gonna go back here again. If you just look at this, look at the ceiling compared to this. So just incredibly much brighter and beautiful. This work was all done by Paul Tamarius and his company, Tamarius. It was about 7 or 8 painters. They were here about 4 months. The entire grand lobby was scaffolded, and they were painting the ceiling from a deck that was built up here. One of the things that Paul's company did the original work in 2002 as well. But at that time, there were a whole bunch of consultants brought in from out of town that set all this stuff up. And this time around, we went right to Paul, and I think that for in terms of efficiency, we did not bring any additional consultants in on any of the project, not the aesthetic, not the acoustic, no aspect of the project. And I don't think anybody would look at this and see that there was any loss from not having those consultants here. This is the this is the entry arcade now. And again, if those of you will remember, the ceiling was flaking and really terrible shape. This was the color was a dark brown. This picture doesn't even come close to doing it justice. The entry arcade is beautiful, and the work that was done in there. So this is a shot of the outside of the theater before the Rite Aid building, which is here, was demolished. This building housed our administrative offices and our box office. It was demolished. I should get the actual date, but at least 7 years ago, I think. So this was before it was demolished. They were getting ready to demolish it. As a matter of fact, the scaffolding that's going up around the marquee was to protect the marquee from things falling on it while they were tearing the building down. This is a shot after that Rite Aid building is down, and just before the restoration began of the Whitelaw building. You can actually look through the Whitelaw building here through these windows, and you can see there's no roof. So they had torn the roof off of the building, and this was the condition there. So this became this. So this is the new front of the building. You can see the Whitelaw building, obviously much nicer. There's a roof. If you could see through the windows, you can't because of the reflection, but there is actually a roof in there. Our entryway here and the new construction to the south that houses, you'll see another shot that houses our box office and our administrative offices, which are on the second floor down, and are really, you can all come to my office when you get a chance. I think I have the best office in Akron. We're one level down below Main Street. I can look out one window and see Lot 3 Park. I can look out the other window and see Lot 4 and the canal. So this is the elevator tower that takes you down to our office level, as well as takes you to bathrooms that are on the second level down from the Whitelaw building. There wasn't room here on the first floor for a bathroom, so that's now below on the second floor down. So this is a shot pre-construction, standing down in lot 3, looking back up towards Main Street, and that became this. So this is, you really get a good shot of our box office. This is the outside of our box office. Our box office is beautiful on the inside, and our people that work in there have great view out these windows. This is a new entry to the theater that will become active as soon as we get a deck, which is going to come out over here, and I'll be showing you more about that in a moment. So that is the, and then our offices, this is our office level down here. That right there is that's a window to my office right there. So this lovely photo is the inside of the Whitelaw building prior to anything being done. It was, you can just see the condition that it was in. Eventually, all of the floor and most of the beams were ripped out, and the columns were ripped out. This became this. So this is the new 200-seat, what we call the night stage. It's actually, its full name is the John, James, and Clara Night Stage. This is a 200 capacity, flexible use performance and event space. In this shot, we've got some tables set up, but it can be set up any way it wants. We will be doing about 100 events a year in here, every Friday and Saturday night, 50 weeks a year at least, depending on, I guess, when Christmas and New Year's falls. The uses of this space, 40% or so small theatrical stuff, our Millennial Theater Project, other local small theater projects, and about 50% approximately music events, local and some national. I know that I'm seeing Laura shake her head, and we're certainly hopeful that we'll be able to partner with the summit to get some of the national stuff figured out. And then 10% just sort of miscellaneous. There's definitely going to be comedy in here. I expect there's going to be some poetry and some corporate events, some small weddings, that type of thing. This is a second shot. This is from the balcony level. If some of you have been to House of Blues in Cleveland, it's pretty similar in that way, in that if you're right along the rail, you've got just this really excellent view directly down to the stage. If you're not, you're off the rail a little bit, then you really can't see the stage. But we'll be setting up there with some tables and chairs and couches for folks that maybe just want to sit up there and listen to the music, or just be in the room but aren't necessarily worried about seeing the stage. So the very interesting thing to me, I'm an old tech guy, is that this sound system and lighting system, which just makes perfect sense, is by far more, it's far superior to the lighting and sound system we have in the main auditorium. And you know, I mean, the sound and lighting in the main auditorium was purchased 20 years ago. This stuff was all purchased last week. So, you know, it's the technology has been incredibly changed in that period. And so this is really state-of-the-art stuff that's in here. It's going to really be an excellent experience for folks on and off stage to be in this space. So this is a shot of the just the south-facing wall of the theater before the new construction was added, before the mural. So one of the things as we move into the next part of this, we really wanted to take the outside of the building and make it as much of an asset as the inside of the building. So public art, and this really developed strongly through our involvement with Civic Commons, where public art is a very big piece of it. Public art is significant in that concept because it's completely accessible to anybody, and everybody can experience it the way that they experience it. So the concept of increasing the amount of public art in downtown Akron became very important to us. Then, in addition to that, married to the idea of our role as a community development or economic development organization, rather than simply an arts or cultural organization, became the concept that, you know, there's 1 million, 2 million people within a 50-mile radius of downtown Akron, And of all of the people that come to downtown Akron over the course of the year, at most, maybe 5% of them actually ever step foot inside the Civic Theater. 95% of them do not. So our goal here was to take the outside of the building and make it as much of an asset as the inside of the building. Everybody talks about how beautiful the Civic Theater is on the inside, but what we know is that only about 5% of the population are really entering the theater. So we wanted to be able to have an impact beyond that. And so that led to a focus on public art and a pretty substantial investment of a total project that's $8.5 million. The investment in public art and video, which you'll see here in a second, is $750,000 of that. So this is the result on the south side. I'm sure many of you have seen this. You can't miss it if you're driving up Main Street. This was an artist. Her name was Wheezy, or is Wheezy. She's from Detroit, originally I think from LA, but now living in Detroit. If you don't want to call her Wheezy, her name is Louise Jones, but she goes by Wheezy. So she did this work for us. This took her about 6 weeks, I'd say, and she painted the entire thing herself. No assistance whatsoever. So this is the Lot 4 side. This was taken, I want to say, about 2 years ago, obviously in the winter, but you can just see the condition of these buildings. They're beginning to do demo work, really sort of bad shape. This right here was a cantilevered piece of building that was about to fall off, and I would not have walked underneath it. They already removed one over here, it looks like. You can see over here the wall of the Civic Theater. So this was pre-Bowery project, pre-our renovation expansion project. So this is the Lot 4 side today. This mural is really kind of our masterpiece. It was done by two artists, a gentleman that goes by the name El Mac and another one that goes by the name Ace Bourne. El Mac did the figures. Ace Bourne did the pattern behind it. This mural took about 3 months, and there were two of them. They had two big lift things as they were doing it. All of this stuff, the actual images were done with spray can, and most of this was done with brush. You can see the smaller mural. This mural has been here for years in the Lot 4 area. But you can see across here the incredible transformation of these buildings, where once was a cantilevered construction that was about to fall over. We now have these wonderful outdoor patios that are connected to commercial space that we're really hoping are going to be bars and restaurants soon. Over here, the residential is over here. It's off the camera shot. This is our building where the night stage is. So this level here is what we call Wild Oscars. It's a micro performance space of about 60 to 70 people. There it is. So you can see it close up. I'm going to go back again for just a second. This is our office level. So you can see that the main office area, my office is here underneath, but these are all main office area windows. So there's just amazing, wonderful light that comes into our office. This is the Main Street level. So that's the main seating area for the night stage. And this is the balcony level of the night stage. So here's the space. We're calling it Wild Oscars, named after, a lot of people think because of the entertainment that it's a play on Oscar Wilde. That is not true. It is named after Wild Oscar, who was a very famous organist here at the theater. And I don't hear it as much, but almost invariably when in the past, and I've been around long enough to have done this for a while, when I would speak to Rotaries or other service clubs, invariably somebody in the club would raise their hand and ask if Wild Oscar was still playing at the Civic Theater. The answer is no. I'm sure that Wild Oscar is performing at the pearly gates as people are waiting to get in. This area here is access to Lot 3. We're working through some details right now, but we expect hopefully to be able to set up a bar out here and do some events inside this very small space while Lock 3 events are happening. So this is a shot of the planned Lock 3 development. So main reason I bring this up is to give you an idea of what is yet to come on our project. So the deck, this area here, there's an outdoor deck that'll be built and coming off of the building and into the new entrance, and then the video screen that gives you some idea of the scale of what that video screen is going to be. This is a concept that's under development. They're currently raising the funds to be able to do this. It feels very much like they're going to be successful. I doubt this will be the final design, but you can see the transformation of what is Lock 3 right now from sort of a very utilitarian, basic green space to really much more of what I would call Akron Central Park. There will be a permanent amphitheater that'll be somewhere in here as opposed to being configured to face this way, which it currently does. The new one is going to configure and face this way. And that will provide this view from our balcony down into the new park. So this is a tremendous amenity that I think is transformational. I mean, I think our project is significant. I think the Bowery is significant. I think the other residential that's coming in, and there's additional residential right across the street in a law building that's about to be open. There's residential going into the city center building, I believe it's the old YWCA, which is just a block up Bowery Street. There's also residential going in south of us in the Canal Place area. So there's really a ton of residential that's coming into downtown. Also out in the East End, they're at capacity in the residential in the East End. They're going across the street into the old Goodyear World Headquarters for additional residential. So residential really appears to be a very significant way in which our downtown is going to return, especially after the pandemic and the recognition that not all of the corporate folks are going to bring everybody back, as working from home has proven to be fairly efficient for a number of people. So if you're not going to come back with corporate, then residential is really the key. And if that's going to be the case, you've got to have amenities. So this park, I think, is really critical for that. Not only is it going to support the additional residential that's happening, but the other thing, and this can't be understated, is when this park comes in and it looks the way it does here and here, the connection between this park and University Avenue and the University of Akron is going to be incredibly strong. This amenity will draw faculty and students down this hill and into the downtown. And that is something that I think we've all been working on for a long time, and at least talking about. So I'm very, very excited about what Lock 3 holds for us. And then I'm probably, oh my gosh, it's 1 o'clock. All right, so I'm not even gonna go through this anymore. I'm just gonna tell you that we're gonna bring more people down too, I promise. And then I'm gonna stop and just ask if you guys have any questions. I'm happy to answer. I'm sorry I went so long.
No, thanks, Howard. That was excellent. And before I let Connor start asking the questions, I just want to take care of some quick business, adjourn, and then if you have the luxury to stay on board, we'll continue to ask the questions that were populating the chat.
Sure.
Okay, so next week our speaker is Justice Pat Devine of the Supreme Court of Ohio, and he promises to give a nonpartisan civics lesson. So several other Rotary clubs in the region have had this, and it comes very highly recommended. Dues are due. They're actually technically late, but if you can get your dues paid in this next week, we will waive the late fee, and the board will work on that. Happy birthday to Kevin Smith today and Rich Brandenburg on the 20th. Joint anniversary, Dan O'Connell is 42 years and Joe Flagg Lunziger is 3 years. So thanks for all your tips about vacation destinations. And I'm going to adjourn and turn this right back over to Howard and Connor. So let me turn my screen to make it official. We are officially adjourned.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Rob. Howard, just thank you so much for taking the time and wonderful presentation, and really appreciate just being able to kind of see the progress. So lots of comments in the chat is just as far as the amazing work that's been done. So again, wonderful presentation, really well received. A couple of the questions that have come in, and this one may have been answered already. But one member asked if there was once talk of moving the entire theater. If that was answered already, I do apologize, but was there talk of that previously?
Yeah, no, it wasn't answered. Well, it was answered at the time, but it was in the late 90s. I want to say 99, around that period. And there was some desire to create a complex on the corner of Main and Market where the Akron Public Schools building is now. And that was going to be a new art museum, a new civic theater, and a new library, all on that corner.
Okay.
It was, yeah, but that got a number of people unhappy with that, and it did not really get much traction.
Okay. Well, thanks for addressing that. In regards to kind of one of your last items you had touched on was the park project, and is there a tentative timeline for when that's going to be completed? Looks like it's going to be such a wonderful space for Akron.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly, but what it looks like is, and I'm not, there may be a more official answer than this, but from what I can see, it looks like summer of 2023. Yeah. So I think they're still raising money. Summer of 2022, they'll be sort of continuing to plan, and I would expect it'll be completed by summer of 2023.
Phenomenal. No, I look forward to that as well. And sounds like it's just going to be such a great space for all of us. One member just commented in the chat and just, said, loves how you collaborated with EJ and so many other organizations to leverage just their abilities and the synergies. And so many of our nonprofits and economic development organizations could benefit from similar efforts. So how did you and the Akron Civic Theater how'd you get those conversations started to turn this into such a fruitful endeavor?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of things. It was certainly over the years, and it developed over a number of years, a number of boards. But certainly the willingness of the board to take a chance and try some new things, that was a big piece of it. But then I think a lot of it also had to do with just opportunity. In the case of Lot 3, the city was interested in not having an empty bit of land when the parking deck that used to be there got torn down. And so, they didn't feel like they knew how to do programming. So there was a partnership formed. The University of Akron went through a little bit of a difficult time in terms of the management of the theater and needed some stability. So at that time, so we were able to go over and work with them. So it's just been opportunities have come up, and we've thought creatively about how to do it. But the main thing is to just get past the idea that there's competition, because it's not about competition. It's really about working together. And if you look at especially EJ, the EJ and the Civic are the best example. They're fairly similar size in terms of capacity. And yet in the 5 years that we worked together, both buildings have been way more active than they ever were in the past.
Okay. So it's not a, kind of a, what's the term I'm looking for? It's not a, one's winning, one losing. It's a net. Yeah. Or net gain, I should say. For both, it's not
a zero-sum game.
There we go. That's the phrase I was looking for. I couldn't think of. There we go. Zero-sum game. So, well, thank you, Howard. Guys, I'm looking here, and other questions in the group. Let's see. All right, I think I've gone through the ones. Try not to be redundant on some of the ones that came to me directly. Guys, I'll kind of just open it up here. If for anyone that's still on the call, is there any questions? And I'll scan the gallery here. Howard, again, just thank you so much for your time. And I believe I've answered the ones that, at least the ones that weren't redundant in the chat, you've addressed now. And anyone have any other questions? And I'll kind of just try to moderate. Yeah, Steve, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Cheryl.
No, Steve, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Howard, the plan for the park, is that going to decrease capacity for like concerts and things like that?
No, it actually looks like it's gonna, it should be about the same. And also it will give us a little bit more flexibility for reserve seating, which will help us with to raise the bar a little bit on some of the shows that are playing there now.
Nice.
I gotta say, Howard, when I saw some of those pictures, I literally felt like tears because I haven't been downtown in a year, and I am overwhelmed by especially the outside of it, and I'm just like, I'm overwhelmed with it. I really kind of got like emotional there. I'm not a teary-eyed girl, so.
No, it really is amazing. We're really happy with that, and we're actually adding 3 new pieces of public art as well that are from artists that are from Akron and Cleveland. So we'll see more out there this summer.
Cheryl, go ahead.
Yeah, I just commend you on getting El Mac. What a renowned artist he is. And I read about how he found those 2 children. One is his own, and one he found on a playground
That's right.
locally, and got permission from the parents to use. And it's just absolutely stunning. So
Yeah, it was
thank
pretty
you.
moving. The Beacon did a story and where the parents brought the little girl down, and they did a whole thing, a photo shoot right there with her on the wall. It was really pretty. That was a moving and wonderful story.
Anything else, guys, here? Let's see. Oh, Jack, are you? Can't up. There you go. Jack, do you have something? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was pondering. I think that if the president would indulge me and open Happy Dollars once more, we'd like to give 60 Happy Dollars for all of the dates that we had down there a long time ago.
It's the 2 things I always hear are A, is Wild Oscar still playing, and B, I had one of my first dates or my first kiss in the balcony of the theater. So glad to see that's continuing.
We heard Wild Oscar quite often, and
wow,
just the organ coming up out of the floor was always spectacular.
That's awesome.
Well, we indulged you, Jack. So thank you.
It's opened up. Thanks, Jack, for that anecdote there. Let's see. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions come in. I just know if I'm speaking for everyone, very excited to see the space in person and just all the work that's been done. And just again, so thankful that it was such a successful endeavor. And I know there's still work to be accomplished, but I know we're all eager to be able to attend the venue again and kind of just reemerge into society. So Howard, what a phenomenal job you guys have done getting everything. Go ahead, Dr. Or Jack. Oh, I thought it was Jack. Back twice there. So, anyways, but no, just phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to it myself. So,
Howard, there is a gala.
Yeah.
I thought I got something in the mail this week.
Yeah.
Inviting me to a gala. Do you want to make a pitch there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
There we go.
August 14th. It's Great Gatsby is the theme, and it'll be our gala reopening. But what we're actually going to do in addition to the gala that night, the entire week, we're going to have a show every night in the new night stage leading up to it, and then a community open house on Sunday afterwards. So it'll be really a gala reopening week with the big gala event on Saturday the 14th. So yes, we would love to have everybody join us for that.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, thank you very much for staying on, Howard. It was great in your photography. The pre and post or before and afters were really inspiring. That someone can take a vision of an area that looked like it might have been raised and convert it and transform it. That was phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Bravo, Howard.
Any Tuesday at noon that you think you need to feel some love, you're always welcome.
Yeah,
Very
well
good.
done.
Thank you.